Hello everyone, it's Theme Park Avenue, I'm Eric. Welcome to Epic Universe Reviews, a series of videos reviewing each of the 11 rides of the all-new Universal's Epic Universe theme park in Universal Orlando Resort. In each video, I will talk through my experience on one of the rides, provide useful information about it, and give some final thoughts on how good the ride is. For the third video of this series, I am reviewing Dragon Racer's Rally, a Gerstlauer Sky Flyer in the Isle of Berk area of the park. Spoilers for the ride incoming. In my opinion, this is the least interesting and most skippable ride at Epic Universe, and I'm sure some others agree. However, it's not a terrible ride and there is plenty to enjoy, so maybe you'll love it. Let's talk about the full ride experience and see if there's anything truly great about this ride. Beginning with the queue, I must say I enjoy it a lot. There are fun murals showing dragons, trophies from previous dragon races, and signs with instructions on training and racing dragons. There might also be signs explaining how the ride works and all, but I didn't see any. The story of the ride seems to be that you are in a vehicle that prepares you for actually flying on a dragon. But I'm unsure if you're supposed to be flying with the dragon that's built in the structure, or if that dragon is pulling you along. Not a big deal, but I prefer when a ride's story is clearly communicated. The queue's greatest strength is that it's positioned next to one of my favorite sections of the area's roller coaster, Hiccup's Wing Gliders. It's when the train passes through the dragon houses, and you can watch it happen from this queue. The view is somewhat obscured by the queue building, but at least that means this queue building is well shaded. This is good, because the line does not move quickly. This ride is a thrilling flat ride, and these rarely have a very high capacity. The park actually built 2 Sky Flyers to help with the issue, but when each one can only fit 12 people at a time, the ride just doesn't keep the line moving. I recommend hitting this early if you plan to hit it at all, so let's talk about the things that will help you decide whether or not you want to ride it in the first place. Before boarding, you can watch the ride in action, as well as some fun animations on screens in the loading area. It is worth noting that this ride is beautiful to look at. That's not unusual for Epic Universe rides, especially the Berk ones as they're all outdoors and can be seen practically in full. I love watching the ride cycle as the statue of the dragon soars through the air, and then as the mechanism rotates, the dragon racers themselves soar in the air. The ride does go pretty high up, so you can even see it from Celestial Park. Some might prefer to not see Berk until they enter it, but I personally love being able to watch this grand flat ride and the beautiful Stardust Racers run at the same time. It's definitely more fun to watch than the average flat ride, due to the great design of the structure and that dragon statue. So watching the ride is pretty cool. Maybe more so than riding it, because the ride experience just doesn't offer much of note in my opinion. Once you're in your seat, you have 2 handles in front of you that can be used to turn the wings upward or downward. Once the ride begins, you soar up high and continue a circular path that takes you down toward the ground and up above Berk. At this point, you might want to just sit back and enjoy the views of the park. This is pretty much the only ride in the park that offers any sort of view from above. I guess Stardust Racers has its moments of that where it's facing the rest of the park, but those are rare, low to the ground, and very fast. Therefore, one perk of this ride is that while the views are not super long or especially stellar here, this is the closest thing you can get to an observational ride at Epic Universe. And I at the very least enjoy overlooking Berk and Hiccup's Wing Gliders. If you find just sitting and looking around boring, you can control the wings and attempt to flip upside down. That's what this ride model was really made for. By moving the wings, you can sometimes get yourself to spin around horizontally. I know people who have spun 17 times in a row on Sky Flyer attractions. Unfortunately, I don't know anyone who has done so on Dragon Racer's Rally. There's a YouTuber called The Coaster Josh, who if I remember correctly, rode this ride 3 times and only got a flip on the 3rd attempt. I have to know what his secret was because I personally did not flip on my one ride. I thought pushing one wing down and the other up would do the trick, and it certainly got me to rotate and almost face upside down, but I never completed a flip and that seems to be a very common experience. I've never done another Sky Flyer, but being unable to actually experience the intended thrilling part of a flat ride was very disappointing for me. I suppose the wings are just not built as well for spinning. Maybe because they're bulkier and better painted, so the bigger theming elements makes them less built for the actual spinning. I personally would have taken uglier wings if it meant being able to flip more easily. As is, the ride lacks the thrills it could have provided. The other issue is the ride's duration. Presumably due to how low capacity this ride is, and not wanting the line to build up too much, the ride cycle feels very short. I can't imagine the mechanism completed more than 6 rotations while I was on it, and I therefore had even less chances of flip than I might have on other versions of this model. The short duration and difficulty with flipping take away a lot of the fun that I imagine the other Skyflyers provide in bucket loads. Overall, I think this ride is a bit of a mediocre experience. Its queue and appearance are nice, and it does have the unique strength of giving views of the park, but it doesn't have the thrill I expect from a flat ride. Let me be clear that I love a good flat ride. I generally prefer them to dark rides, in fact. There are flat rides I've done that I would take over every single ride at Universal Orlando Resort, but those rides offer longer experiences with much more intense and unpredictable thrills. This ride could be much closer to that level of amusement if you could flip more, and therefore truly make this ride different every time. As is, it's my least favorite ride at Epic Universe. To end this review, I will be giving the ride a number score out of 10. A 1 means it is among the absolute worst of Universal attractions, such as Fast and Furious Supercharged. A 10 means it's among the absolute best, such as Velocicoaster or Spider-Man. Those scores are just my opinion, as is the score for Dragon Racer's Rally. I was torn on what to score this one because I don't hate it and I didn't want to give it something super harsh. I was thinking of giving it a 5 out of 10, but it just doesn't have enough strength to put it above other rides that I might give a 5. Therefore, I am giving Dragon Racer's Rally a 4 out of 10. It's not the worst thing ever, and maybe you'll be an expert at flipping when you ride it. But for me, it's an underwhelming ride and definitely the least fun of Epic Universe's 11 rides. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please stay tuned for the next Epic Universe review as it's going to be a lot more positive than this one, and stay tuned for the rest of them. Subscribe for more theme park videos, I'll see you next time.